Hello there and welcome to the Drax Files Radio Hour with Jo Yardley. My name is Draxter Dupre. With me here is Jo Yardley. Hi, Jo. How are you?
Hello, I'm all right.
Today on the show, Jo, veterans of Second Life and OpenSim, a world that you don't care about. They're now with the company Sinewave Entertainment, and they have a new virtual world that's called Space.
It sounds interesting, although it's not really a very Google-friendly name.
Space, the Final Frontier, hence the name of the show. But this is actually really impressive, and we're going to do a live walkthrough with Adam Frisby of Sinewave. He has been on the show before. I'm in there with my avatar, the same avatar that was made by Melio from Second Life, actually, and the avatar I use in high fidelity and I use in VR chat, and it just works, almost drag and drop in that world. They have a concurrency of, we'll talk with Adam later. And I know people who listen to this podcast think like, oh my God, is this another podcast where nobody talks about Second Life? We got a lot of good feedback from last week's show because it was about Second Life.
Yeah.
So, but we are talking about Second Life before we drop in the pre-recorded segment with Adam Frisby because, Jo, there is some news from Wired in the UK. An article came out, and the article is long, but I have the TLDR version, which stands for Too Long Don't Read.
For lazy people.
Right, and that version is that Philip Rosedale says Second Life is for disabled people, and Ebbe Alberg says, who the installed servers in 2016?
What kind of language is that?
Right.
I'm a bit disappointed with these gentlemen for that sort of coarse language.
You didn't think that Ebbe Alberg, CEO of Linden Lab, has that kind of potty mouth, did you?
Well, I know he does, but, you keep that out of journalism. For God's sake.
I wanted to keep this for the end of the show, but let's just put this out right now before we delve into the core of the show. I did watch television. I don't watch a lot of entertainment television, mostly documentaries, but I watched a piece of entertainment. And what was it that I watched, Jo? You know it.
Well, Black Mirror, of course.
Exactly.
Everyone watches Black Mirror. And if they don't, they should.
Only the crop of the connoisseurs of good dark stuff watch Black Mirror.
No, don't say that. It's good for everyone.
It is good for everyone, just like Second Life is good for everyone.
When you promote it like that, there's like 4 people and a dog who think, ooh, I read books and I'm wearing, goat wool socks. I want to go watch that because Draxter watches it.
We have 5 listeners. I mean, come on. So that's 4 people and a dog. But listen, I agree with you. Black Mirror is for everyone, just like Second Life is for everyone. Is everyone in Second Life? No.
Listeners, just ignore Drax. It is not a show just for people who have 4 books and pretend they read them. It is a really cool show, especially if you're into this new media and in VR and interested in this sort of thing, because it shows us a really dark but also quite funny and painful view of what the future could be. And you're laughing at it, and then halfway through you sort of think, hang on, this might be a little bit too close to what actually is happening or is going to happen really soon. And then it becomes a little bit scary.
In short,
trust me, you want to watch it.
Right. And the first seasons, I mean, these are all individual episodes that stand on their own. They're all available on YouTube and Dailymotion somewhere. The new stuff that just came out, you have to have a Netflix subscription of it.
For internet, but that's illegal, so don't do that.
Yeah, I stole it from my neighbor. But the point is, I only watched one episode, which is San Junipero.
I've seen them all.
And San Junipero is the only one of these episodes of the new batch that has actually a really tear-jerking good ending. And I think either you watch this one, you should probably watch this one last because of all the darkness. Yeah, you kind of need that as a relief, and it has very much to do with virtual reality. And in a weird way, and Torley sent me an email and said you got to start watching it with this one.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, now that we got completely off tangent, there's an article in Wired UK called "Second Life was just the beginning. Philip Rosedale is back and he's delving into VR." This is about high fidelity, Philip Rosedale's new world.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not only about that, it's also about Ebbe Alberg, the competitor.
You can't say that one of them is VHS and the other is Betacam. Just don't say which is which.
Exactly, because then I will jinx it. but so this pits, and this is not a bad article. Everybody needs to read it to form their own opinion, of course. Ebbe is quoted in there. Potty mouth Ebbe.
Swearing.
Criticizing some of the clunkiness of the high fidelity UI. In the article is not bad, but of course there's three things that really bug the hell out of me, which is that it's pitted kind of black and white, open versus closed, free and crazy, high fidelity versus very controlled in Sansar. And I don't know what this journalist by the name, what's his name, Rowland Manthorpe, saw, what they showed him in Sansar. I don't know. But he comes away saying in this article that Sansar seems somehow more tame and controlled. Yeah,
well, there's only a few hundred people in there, and these people are creators.
Right.
And they are creating, so they're either very busy or they're very tame, because everyone knows that us creators, we just spend our time moving stuff around, and we don't do parties and drugs and things like that.
I think the author makes a mistake drawing conclusions of the content that he sees right now about what the content will be when everybody is in there.
Yeah, but to be fair, he doesn't have much else to base his opinion on.
Yeah, but he should base it on talking to Ebbe, who is on the record saying in many, many different fora that, this is user-created stuff and we're not going to put any limits on what they want to build. So it could go as crazy or as tame as you want it to be.
It could be almost as mad as Second Life.
Exactly. And so what of course, High Fidelity has much more content and much crazier content because they go a very different route. They let people in from the very beginning.
But to be fair, actually that might be a good thing for Sansar at the moment, because they need to have a clean, fresh start. Yeah, they're going to keep going on. Every time there's an interview or a new article about Sansar when it goes public, there's going to be journalists writing about Second Life and how pervy it is and weird and all the crazy stuff happening there. So, starting with a clean slate and having at least someone saying, well, it looks a bit tame, might actually be a little bit of a good thing.
Jo, that's a really acute analysis of that I haven't thought about, that it might
That's
actually...
what I'm here for.
Thank you very much. I'm here for the polarizing.
Yeah. You do the simple stuff, I'll do the thinking.
Right. I'm doing the black and white, you do the nuance.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, the thing really is that actually what people come across reading this is actually something that is sort of reassuring that Sansar may not be as crazy as Second Life, which may be very, very good. For Linden Lab.
We know better.
Of course, because as soon as we're in, it's going to go downhill.
Yeah, but let's not tell the journalists that. Let them think it's a bit tame and nice for a while.
The funniest thing really is that, and this is true, I tweeted, of course, in all good-natured humor, that to Ebbe, hopefully Sansar is more than just rearranging furniture, and I think I posted that on my Facebook page as well, the Too Long Don't Read version. And then Ebbe was at the Wall Street Journal live event, and he demoed Sansar live. We're going to link to your blog post with the video. There's a short video out there, and he is in fact rearranging furniture.
Yes.
And I know he did it just because of me.
He was going IKEA on our backsides, as they say in America. Yeah, it was quite a funny video. And, I think he bought some flowers, and they were tulips, which are Dutch, which, of course, is, some sort of sign of a conspiracy.
Yeah, it's only about you and me and him. I mean, it's like the triangle, it's like the eye in the pyramid. It's the Illuminati.
To be honest, Drax, it's just him and me.
But now let me just say a few things here that Philip Rosedale is saying in the article. He says, High Fidelity is the internet. High Fidelity is not a company. High Fidelity is the net. That sounds awfully like Second Life is the 3D web, right? Does it not?
That's what he's still trying to achieve.
Right. To be, you mean to sound hyperbolic, or is that what he's trying to achieve?
He's still going for this idea of a virtual internet sort of plan. And that's probably why he moved on from Second Life to something completely different.
But again, Ebbe here is criticizing, and again, I mean, in High Fidelity, I was in there recently, I still fall through the floor. He's criticizing the fact that it's nowhere near user-friendly at all.
Well, yeah, I guess.
Because here, Ebbe is clearly positioning himself or Sansar as, he says, a curated, hosted experience. So they host a service. They are working on a simple UI that empowers people, that is not in the way. And again, I can't speak about Sansar, but I can speak about High Fidelity and the UI and the functionality. To be quite honest, is nowhere close to anything that anyone would ever put up with, who's not, that kind of guy who spends 8 hours installing like a Wi-Fi repeater and then feels good about himself.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they're,
The only thing that I can say about High Fidelity is that it's starting to look very good. It's starting to look very promising.
The content is interesting. There's a little video about the Day of the Dead, which starts November 1st, a celebration. That's content that is made by very talented people, but that's just content. That's just sort of objects. It says nothing about the ease and the comfortableness of interacting in a world, which is the basis for the success of any type of social virtual worlds.
And I can't talk about Sansar. But
maybe you don't want to. Maybe you're in there.
No, I'm not. See, I can say these things because I haven't signed an NDA, because I'm not in there, so I can say I'm not in there.
Are you saying because I cannot definitively say that, or I won't, that I signed an NDA? Is that what you're trying to allude to?
Are you in Sansar?
That's really speculation that has no business of being discussed on a public forum like this.
I'm saying no.
And here's the phone call. Hold on. Here's the phone call.
You're in trouble.
Yeah, Ebbe? Sorry. Yeah, I know. No, I know. I saw. Yeah, I'm aware I shouldn't tell. Ebbe, come on.
Darling.
Come on.
I'll make up.
Oh, he hung up. Oh, crap. Yeah, okay, well, that's it. I'm out. That's the end of Dragster as we know him. Real quick, our friend Wagner James Au, esteemed games journalist, author of The Making of Second Life, says in this article, both Sansar and High Fidelity are operating under very shaky premise. They're gambling their whole company's futures on the premise that there's going to be a large market consisting of tens of millions of VR owners.
Yeah, it's pretty much everyone else in the world.
Right, but let me... Yeah, Ebbe? Ebbe, you know my relationship with Wagner. What? You want me to stop calling him an idiot? Come on, Ebbe. This is free speech. What do you mean I'm in Germany? There I don't have... Oh, he hung up again.
You know, he's just, pitting his two friends against each other because, that's what you do with girlfriends.
But here's the thing really about Wagner's... Okay, but all kidding aside, the thing with Wagner's statement here is, I think what is important to understand is that neither High Fidelity nor Sansar are VR exclusive platforms. Mm-hmm. You can use them as a desktop version. Sansar, we've been told, is going to also be mobile. So there is no HMD required. And I think both Philip Rose and Eva Albert, they're not that stupid. They know that this needs to be compatible with devices, but they also know that, in fact, it is not clear how many people will actually purchase a device.
Yeah, yes and no, because both High Fidelity and Sansar people, they're both very well aware that this whole new wave is coming, and they are counting on VR becoming big with or without headsets. But it's being led by the headset renaissance. It is they are expecting, or at least hoping, that there's going to be millions of headsets everywhere pretty soon. And so is Google, and so is Facebook, and so is pretty much every responsible big company and tech company. So it is coming. There's going to be millions, and they may not depend on it, but they are counting and hoping. They're not risking their lives. They're not going to go bankrupt if the VR headset revolution doesn't go big. But they're sure planning on it.
we need to go to the pre-recorded segment. But I want to quickly say that I find it always troublesome and a little offensive, and I don't know if he probably doesn't mean it, but it comes across that way. Philip Rosedale says something, or he's quoted as saying that Second Life is primarily for smart rural people,
Well,
people who live in rural areas.
I'm not rural, so does that make me smart? Wait.
No, and also the disabled. So he, I think, first of all, he marginalizes the user base, and also it comes across as offensive, as if you don't live in London, New York, or San Francisco.
Yeah.
You basically need a method of escaping, and that's what they're providing. I mean, it's essentially saying, asking a drug pusher, like it's asking the coke dealer around the corner or whatever, who's your primary customer. Say, well, people who have shitty lives, and that's how it comes across. And I don't think that is in any way, shape, or form helpful.
No, it's almost as if he hasn't watched the Drax Files show.
Yeah. But although I did profile someone from rural Michigan.
Well, there you go. It's all your fault. Well, I am very sorry, but I am highly educated. I'm living in a big city. I have a social life, even though people will not believe me.
We have to step on the pedal here. There's one interesting item that I want you guys to read, which is the sexual harassment in VR, and you could set the clock to when that was coming. I mean, why wouldn't it come if it's possible? There was a woman was groped in a game called QuiVR, where you can play with bow and arrow and stuff like that. I mean, this is certainly not a new problem. Ralph Koster, the god of MMOs, pointed out on Facebook that this is a problem that is 40 years old. You can harass someone in a free text-based MMO with text, but companies often sort of cop out in terms of providing real ideas. I know you were posting on Facebook that you would just punch the guy in the face.
Yeah, but that was in real life. I've got harassed in real life twice, and one of those times the guy ended up in hospital.
Yeah, but what do you do in VR?
Well, thankfully, in Second Life, we've had 13 years of experience with dealing with this stuff, so we have plenty of tools to deal with such people. We've got muting and banning and de-rendering and all those fun tools. The main issue here, I think, is not that it happens, because, of course it's going to happen, but there are new virtual worlds and new virtual ideas popping up all the time, and none of these seem to have even considered these things, because once more, they don't know their own history. Like we've said many times, this is the neo VR movement. These people seem to think that everything they do is new, and nothing like what they're doing has happened ever before. And then we boring, annoying people from Second Life say, "Oh yeah, we've been doing that for years." So they don't look back. They don't think that there is something in the past that they can learn from. Which, quite frankly, is something that every human has, I'm afraid.
Yep. So with all this depressing talk, let's go to a new virtual world where I don't know if harassment is possible. We'll find out. Adam Frisby is the CEO at Sinewave Company. He's in Sydney, Australia, and he gave me a tour in the new virtual world called Space, and he will talk all about the details. It's quite fascinating. They are positioning themselves as a virtual world. You can hook up a Vive, you can hook up an Oculus, but they're not riding the, we are VR wave. They're very confidently saying we are creators and we built a world for creators. We have scalability. We can have 100, 200 avatars. We can have 500, 1,000. We'll talk about it. You can get as much land as you want. You can create. You can monetize. That's a world called Space, and I've been in there earlier. I have an avatar that is based on Mei Leo's avatar that she made for me for a VR chat, and I captured the whole thing on video as well, so you guys can watch it if you want to, or you can just listen to the audio. Here is Adam Frisby explaining a little bit of the background behind Space.
Sine is a virtual worlds company. We've been around the block a couple of times. We actually started out doing, initially we started out doing live music in Second Life. And we quickly realized that one of the things we needed to make was animations. So we actually got a motion capture studio set up in England and started recording dance moves, which a lot of people in Second Life will probably recognize our animations from.
And here's where I rudely interrupt you, because the people who are listening to this podcast, they find it very normal what you're talking about. But people who watch the extra visual feature, they don't understand what's going on, because here I am amongst like how many 200 attendees of a concert or something, and in front of me is a tarantula. And so, are you the tarantula, Adam?
I am the tarantula. Here, I'll even jump. There you go.
Okay, so and we'll go right back to the background of the company. But do you know how many avatars are around here?
It's at least 320. I think from last count it was 329.
So I have to explain for our listeners who don't have the visuals. So I have an avatar that was made by Mailio. I think I mentioned it earlier, and this avatar is actually pretty cool. It resembles my Second Life avatar, of course, my identity. But let's carry on. So the too long don't read version of, you started with animation for Second Life. You made dance moves, and now Sinewave has actually been very successful in deploying specific virtual worlds, as I understand, to companies. So this is not your first virtual world, but this is in fact the one that is basically for everyone, right?
Yeah. So jumping on, we started doing animations for a while, and then we started getting involved in basically doing virtual worlds for other people. So we were really heavily involved in the early development of OpenSim. I'm one of the founding developers of that.
Yeah, somebody says you're the creator, you're the inventor of OpenSim.
No, I can't take that credit. There's one other guy who was involved first, but I was certainly one of the first few people. So we got involved with OpenSim, and one of the things we found was that it was great, but it wasn't perfect when we wanted to do an event like this particular region we're looking at. So we've got 329 avatars in here. I'm getting a good 60 frames per second. I don't know what you're getting, but I presume it's probably fairly similar. So this region is something that Rowan uploaded as a joke almost. He came in one day. It was actually the previous version of this region, but he came in to the office one day and decided that the very best thing he could do to annoy me was to upload 600 avatars into a region and see if it broke. It did actually break at 600. 600 was a little bit too much, but he started pulling it back, and we sort of got down to a little bit below 500, and things started actually working reasonably well. Down when we've got about 350 in view here, things run really nicely. We get sort of 60 frames per second. You get a bit of lag on the regions with 500 avatars in place, but that's sort of roughly where our limits are here. We've got a lot here. And this actually leaches back to where we sort of went as a company. When we started working with OpenSim, we found that the big constraint was the viewer. And there's a few things that we sort of had problems with the viewer that we couldn't easily fix, that had caused us sort of business problems. Because we actually started talking to a lot of big bands, and don't know if I can actually mention them by name, but because I think we've got NDAs in place still years later. But one of the things that they sort of told us was that we want to put on these concerts, but we've got to do it for a minimum of 10,000 attendees. And you start sort of thinking about what we can do with other virtual worlds, and we realized very quickly that nothing out there on the market right now is going to be able to do what we need. So we started on this, and this virtual world you're looking at is the 7th generation of our existing virtual world platform. So we've actually had a whole bunch of previous versions. Some of the early versions look a lot worse than where we are today. I think actually today we're looking pretty good, but
I think it looks very good. And I've seen earlier with Rowan, your chairman, he gave me an introductory tour, and I think we can hop over to the kind of dystopian cyberpunk place, which also looks very good. It's zone 54B is what it is.
Okay.
Zone 54B.
Okay, yes, yeah, no, that's actually my personal region. So I built this in about I'm just teleporting there now. I built this in a Sunday afternoon, and then, I certainly built the outline of it on a Sunday afternoon, and then we sort of spent the next week with one of my assistants sort of packaging it all together. He did a lot of the piecing together of the buildings.
So we're in there right now, and can we, so people can watch the video, but people may also only be listening to the audio. Can you describe this? It's incredibly impressive that, especially when you said you put this together in an afternoon. Rowan told me earlier that, of course, there's some assets that were pre-built from the Unity marketplace, but regardless, it's an incredibly expansive cyberpunk themed city, I guess.
So this one I built before sort of Westworld became popular, but I sort of decided that I wanted to make a really cool looking sort of Western cowboy themed science fiction region. And I built this one about a month and a half ago, so it's a little bit of one of the older regions that we've built up here. The region itself is about 12 kilometers by 12 kilometers in size. It's a small town that's, yeah, it's quite big, and there's a sort of a small town that I've built up in the middle of that sort of expanse. We've got a big desert all around, and then inside we've got this sort of sci-fi mining outpost / desert town that has sort of been a showcase of some of the things you can do with our platform. So we've got everything from sort of decals on the ground that have been rendered in. So where you're walking right now, you can see there's footsteps and things on the ground that are just painted over the top of everything. So that's just showing off some of the features we've got. We've got sort of dust and fog and all sorts of things that sort of flow through this region.
I can see the fog is floating through here, and I'm walking towards the city. The frame rates are incredibly high, and when you say 12 kilometers in the distance, we see mountains. Now, none of that stuff is painted on, right? I mean, that's actual...
Oh, no, that's real. We can actually go over there if you want to. I don't have any flying animations of my spider, so the flying looks a bit odd. I actually never scripted it, but if we sort of go over around the place, where you're still down there. So if you float up a bit and have a look, I don't know if you can see me. I went up in front of you. So go up and then back onto the top of this building.
You are.
All right. So if you actually, if you do things like mouse around with the camera, so if you zoom the scroll wheel in a little bit and look up, you can actually see that we've got 3 suns in this region, and each of them cast a different coloured shadow. So if you actually look on the ground, you'll see that you've actually got 3 shadows, one from each of the suns, and they're different colour suns. They've got different colour shadows attached to them. So we've got everything in here that sort of showcases some of our post effects.
And I fell off the roof because there's click.
Yeah, I see you there.
Point and click, I guess.
Yeah. So this region, it's got a lot of sort of generic, this is how you would build a professional region in space, but it doesn't necessarily show off every feature. So that last region you saw shows off things like our reflections a lot better. So you can see on the previous region where we've got 300 and something avatars in the scene, you also got reflections on every single one of those avatars. So we basically, the virtue of being built on top of a professional game engine, we get to take advantage of a lot of really high-end graphics features that take otherwise sort of years to develop, certainly months to develop for a high-end graphics program, or we can sort of take advantage of and integrate them in a couple of days. So most of the sort of features in here are the same sort of features that you'll see in a modern video game. So we've got volumetric lighting in here that allows things like sun shafts to be casted. It gives us atmospheric scattering, all these little fancy things that give us sort of really sophisticated fog effects. So if you look in the background at the sort of the train station rails, you'll see they sort of blend towards a sort of reddy color in the background as the haze from the sort of the red desert begins to pick up on them. So all those little effects are sort of the same ones you'll see in the latest.
This is AAA. I'm not, not exaggerating if I were to say that this is, and I'm not a gamer, but this is AAA game quality, correct?
Yeah, this is basically built to the same standards that someone who's building professional game quality content at the moment is building to. Now they'll be able to do a better job than me in an afternoon, and this is basically a quick region that we built as a demonstration of what you can potentially do. But I'm certain that some of the stuff that our creators are doing is going way past this level. Someone uploaded a region of a haunted town for Halloween yesterday that I was just floored by. It looked fantastic, and that looked straight out of a PlayStation title. That was really showcasing all the tools, and there's a lot you can do in here. But the other thing that all these tools give you is actually it lets you put another sheen of polish on content that you've already made. So the spider avatar that I've got is a pretty basic one. I've actually lost you in this region. I can go find so much.
As Adam is talking, we're walking the tracks just like two hobos would. A spider and a dude in flip-flops. I mean, there's nothing more normal than that. So please go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, so our pricing model, we've got some land fees attached, but they're not big ones. We actually give you your first region entirely free of charge. So you can create a region. You can upload quite a lot into one of those regions. Where we limit you is distribution size. So if you make a region with an absolute ton of content, you may run into some limitations there. They're pretty big limitations. This region here that we're visiting right now, this would probably fit into our free tier if you squeezed it a little bit. It wouldn't take a lot of work to get this one to fit into our free tier. So you can do a lot of really high definition, high quality content.
But there is there a limit for the free model in terms of concurrency or how many people I can have here?
So free regions get a concurrency limit maximum of 10. I know that's sort of that's not huge, but you are also getting it for free. If you start upgrading, you can get into some really high concurrencies though. So we give you, when you sort of upgrade onto our top package, and our top package is $75 a month. So there's 5 packages at the moment between sort of free and the top one. When you get that one, you get 10 regions with 100 concurrent in each. That's a joint limit. Oh, not a joint limit. That is a separate limit for each region. So you can literally have 1,000 concurrent users for $75 a month. Some of our regions can go to higher concurrencies. So if you're building something special that needs sort of a concurrency of 300 or whatever, then come talk to us because we can offer those things. We also offer instant sharding as well.
What does that mean? Like elaborate.
So that allows you to basically, when your region fills, so say you've got your concurrency capped at, say, let's say 100. We can actually, when the 101st person decides to log into your region, we can automatically copy the region and launch a copy of it instantly. So when that person actually tries to log into the region, they will get logged into the second copy of it instantly. It takes almost no time at all for those copies to get launched. So basically to them, it's a completely transparent experience. So that means that if you're doing, say, a live music event with 10,000 people with a big band, you can have your region decked out and split your visitors up into lots and lots of copies of these shards without you having to do any work at all. You don't need to pre-buy the capacity. It's all sort of built in on our event packages, which is, again, something have a chat with us if you're interested in using. But really the big is that we are doing a creation split. So we have a built-in marketplace, which I don't know if you can see in your client or if it could be in the video, but if you click the shop button at the bottom of the screen, we actually have a built-in marketplace that every creator can upload and list their items in. That runs through sort of real currency and whatnot. We take a percentage cut of those. The details are on our website, but effectively we've got a really convenient, easy buying interface where you can preview items before you buy them. You can recolor them. There's clothing painting tools and things, so if people want to slap stickers and things on their clothes, you can go ahead and do that using all these existing built-in features. We're hoping that the creators are really happy with this because the way we've built our software pricing model has been to make sure that the people who are actually creating content for us are happy working for our platform. So we have the free region, we have fairly low land prices if you want to go above and beyond those limits. And sort of the net result of this is that we want to have a business model where if creators aren't succeeding, we aren't succeeding. So our success is very directly tied to sort of the success of creators and how happy they are working with our platform. And the reasons for that come back to sort of where our start was. We started as a content creation company. We know exactly sort of all the issues that we have sort of working in other virtual worlds, how the operators run them, how they choose to do things. So, for instance, we have systems in place to handle things like content piracy. If someone uploads pirated content, our systems for dealing with it are a lot more reasonable for the creators than they are in other systems. We can actually completely wipe out every copy of a pirated good that gets uploaded if it does actually sneak through all the other systems we have in place. So, for instance, we have a team of people who are reviewing content to make sure that it's not a duplicate of stuff that they've seen before. These are all things in place so that you can feel confident that when you sort of sell on our platform that we're working with you and that you won't run into sort of the same issues that you may have seen elsewhere.
Rowan talked to me earlier about what you mentioned, which is the monetization ability, that it can be tied in with brands. It's very easy to upload your content and put it up for sale. So, I mean, this is just like the original promise of Second Life, empowering the user to become an entrepreneur and monetize their content.
Second Life did something really magical with its content creators. I mean, it really gave birth to huge numbers of industries. I mean, there is plenty of people who have sort of picked up 3D modeling skills, or they've taken existing skills they have and really turned that into their own business. And we love that. That's really what we want to support here too. So our business models and everything else is, we really want things to work well with creators who are working with our platform. We've had some great feedback from our existing users. I know that some of the people have really just, as I said before, they've taken the tools and run with them. What we want to do is we want to really pull away a lot of the limitations as well. So this region, for example, we actually have huge breadth of trust in the creators in terms of what content you can upload into our systems. This region has actually got custom shaders written to it. So actually I went down and I edited the default skybox shader to add in room for multiple procedural suns. So that's your procedural code generating the suns that are in this region. But that's the sort of thing you can do. If you've got the skills to be able to sort of edit shaders and things like that, you can actually work with those, build those in your content. And this future-proofs your content a lot more too. We're working with a modern game engine that gets regular updates. We do regular updates. We have sort of been upgrading to the latest and greatest Unity version every 6 months. It's a major task for us to do, but we still have been able to progress forward from Unity 1.6, I think, was the very first version of Unity that this code was running on. And that was about 10 years ago almost. We've been working with Unity since probably about 2007. We started using Unity. We started building this platform in 2008. We have upgraded Unity God knows how many times since then, so we can sort of take advantage and we can keep tracking the latest and greatest features. But then you can combine that on top of things like we do let you upload anything. So if a brand new feature comes out that sort of hits the game development world, you'll know that it'll be compatible with Space within a short period of time. So you can actually start. Again,
if people only are listening to the audio version, if you're in the car or at the gym and you cannot watch the visuals, as soon as you get back, check out the accompanying video, because we're still walking on the tracks here, and it's just immensely cool to walk in something as intricate as this visually without any discernible lag. And now you guys are positioning this proudly as a virtual world from creators for creators. As you know, the big word to get into the press is VR right now. Anything that doesn't have VR in it is dutifully ignored by the tech press. So I applaud you for not narrowly sort of positioning this as you're going towards the launch, right? But what do you think about the VR hype, and how does it relate to this world?
So we are conveniently positioned to take advantage of VR when it comes out. Again, Unity's got fantastic VR support. It's got things like single pass rendering for multiple eyes. We get high performance, good quality virtual reality work. But to be honest, I think I said this last time I spoke with you, which was about a year ago. It's not there yet. It's still far away from being consumer ready. And the reasons I say that are multiple reasons. One, the total number of sort of VR units sold is less than 1 million. There is not that many headsets and things available. Yes, they are beginning to pick up. Yes, they are beginning to get a lot better. But they still require a $700 or $800 investment in a high quality headset, and then they require a further sort of $1,200 to $2,000 investment in a computer that's capable of running sort of these sorts of visuals at 120 frames a second or whatever else is required for virtual reality. So my opinion is that the consumer hardware is not there yet, and it's not going to be there for a little while. I think there is other issues that need to be solved besides sort of the raw technical ones. There is issues of things like weight. headsets are getting a lot better. The current generation are a lot more comfortable to wear, but they are still not comfortable to wear for an extended period of time. I find a lot of these small issues sort of add up to it being, we're not quite there yet. And I think we're still sort of I said last time we were probably about 4 years away. I think that's on track. We're probably about 3 years away at this point.
And you would say, and I just want to say I don't disagree with you at all, especially now that I have a Vive, I have two, and we're building a little mixed reality studio here, and I cannot, it's fascinating to be in there, but I cannot stand it longer than, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes maybe. It's just uncomfortable and you're tethered, but don't you see the train moving fast? Oculus Connect have already announced this sort of their next headset, which is in between the Samsung Gear VR and the Oculus. It's going to be untethered, and then PlayStation VR is selling, and you stand by your statement that basically not tomorrow not everybody will have a headset.
Yeah, I think that the issue here is we've got to get the virtual world right first. There's no point building a platform which is built for VR and only VR that can't pick up and take advantage of all the content. We really want to get the content right first. Then we're going to swing back and we'll deal with getting a proper VR integration done. When we do things, we'd like to do them properly, and that does mean that sort of we will be looking at VR quite in depth next year. But what we want to get out first is we want to get the virtual world part right first, because really there's no point having a virtual reality interface where you need to use sort of the Viva remotes for building and things like that. I mean, that's fine, but it's not great. They're not really comparable to the same sort of tools that we can build with a keyboard and mouse. And I think that we're going to see a lot of that is that we would like to get the systems working right well first, as they are where we've sort of been right now. And then sometime over the sort of the next year, 2 years, before we sort of hit the consumer adoption point, we want to be ready. But until we get to that point, I think that it's a premature investment. I'd rather get all the things that make things like Active World, Second Life, all those other virtual worlds that I've been a member of and participant in, I want to get all those features right first, because I think that without doing those features first, we're heading in the wrong direction, and I don't think that's a good business decision. I think there is a lot of people who are using Second Life at the moment. There's a lot of people using Active World, IMView, all the other virtual worlds that are out there.
And you actually, if you hear people comment about even on this podcast, I mean, we got the micro sample that I have available is a lot of people in the Second Life community specifically are perfectly happy without a headset. And in my own family circle of friends, it's extremely split. There is a novelty sort of wow, and then it's in the corner, and that's despite all those very enthusiastic press reports. I'm obviously subscribed to all 10,000 newsletters that sent me 20 headlines every day of like, oh my God, this company XYZ, and Adam, I'm sure you feel similarly, maybe reminded of the hype around Second Life, circa 2006 perhaps, or 2005.
Yeah, it's the same sort of thing. It was one generation too early. I think that VR has finally sort of crossed over the point where it is beginning to seep into mass market. I mean, VR has been trying to break into mass market for a good 25 years now, at least. There was systems in the 90s that did virtual reality. Even Nintendo had a little swing at it with their Virtual Boy. Those systems have never really got successful. I think this time around maybe things are changing. But I still think that it's not going to be the first generation of hardware that wins consumers over. It's going to be the second or third generation from where we are now that really solves a lot of the issues that make it uncomfortable to wear for long periods of time, that do all those things that really now allow someone to get sort of immersed in a virtual world. I would be happiest if we could get people spending hours in here at a time. I think that's really my goal, because I think that there is a lot of worth and value in the social interactions.
Speaking of spending hours, I mean, if you look at the visuals, they're quite soothing. Actually, as we're talking, we're walking the sands of this Mars environment, seemingly infinite, and it's incredibly compelling. I mean, I'm amazed. And I'm sorry I interrupted you because you were just talking about the importance, of course, of social. And we recently on the podcast talked about Facebook social, VR, and of course, I mean, I couldn't help but be a little bit cynical. Like they define social as sort of the extent of what they demoed was exchanging selfies. I would say there's a lot more to social and expression and imagination than doing that.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that they're working on something that will sort of eat everybody else's lunch, but right now we don't see it, and yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. There have been, I think the Facebook one's still a bit of a swing and a miss. It's cool, but it's not really compelling. And I think it falls into the same trap that a lot of other virtual worlds. So there's some, I've probably tried out every virtual world on the planet and then some, going back a good 20 years or so. As a teenager, I used to spend all my time in active worlds, looking desperately for something better than active worlds. So I tried everything. There was one called Muse that reminded me a lot of what Facebook did, and that came out probably 15 years ago, and it's sort of the same thing where you're sharing images and web pages and things from other mediums in a 3D virtual world environment, and I feel that completely misses the point. When you compare it to something like, say, Second Life and Active Worlds, and those two I got very heavily involved in, there you're sharing sort of the 3D content, you're participating in the content. You are basically you are showing off your visiting places. That's all the really compelling part, I find, rather than what you see with, for instance, a lot of the ones where you're just sort of sitting in a room sharing an image with someone else. It's sort of, I feel that that's just, as I said, completely missed the point of what a virtual world is and why it's interesting to actually go and visit. So yeah, like, I mean, we've been literally wandering over this desert for probably a good 5 minutes now.
But now, see, as soothing as that is, and as I'm listening to what you're talking about, of course, now the next question, the logical question must be, because what is compelling is about sharing, is about community. Now, every virtual world, and we just talked about with my co-host Joe, we talked about the Wired article from the UK version of Wired about Philip Rosedale's High Fidelity. And then Sansar Linden Lab, of course, they're both. I mean, the article talks about how they are banking on the success of VR for their survival. But I think even more important is, and that includes you guys. You guys need a momentum of a certain number of users being interested in this. So you need those eyeballs. You're competing for eyeballs, and if you don't have a sufficient number of eyeballs, will it survive? And what makes you believe that you get those eyeballs?
Yes, the eyeball thing is rather interesting. If you click on the mini-map in this region, you'll actually bring up a little screen there, and you can actually see right there. So if you click on there, you'll actually see there's a room URL down the bottom. So you actually can click on that URL, and you can paste it, and paste it around the place. And that URL basically will log the user directly into a WebGL version that doesn't require any installations or installs. You can basically just hop straight into the environment from that URL. You can embed the world on your web page or a blog the same way you embed a YouTube video. That is one of the cool things we're doing. The other cool things we're doing is that we are everywhere. We have successfully got the Space Virtual World, these big regions, we've got them running on mobile phones. Which is something, again, that I think a lot of other people have ignored to a degree, but there has been a big shift over the last couple of years away from desktop computers over to, for instance, mobiles. And what we would like to do there is, again, we can offer sort of the option to be able to check a lot of this stuff out, to participate socially, to have all those interactions, but do it with the device that's in your pocket. And they've actually got fast enough and good enough that we can actually get the majority of one of these virtual worlds down in your pocket. The other thing we've actually done is, we're actually a licensed developer with all the big game consoles. I don't know if I'm saying too much, so I'm going to avoid using specifics, but you can take the implications as you will. We have been sort of testing on some of the dev kits and things that we've got from various console manufacturers, and we've actually been able to get things running over there too. We've still got business relationships and things to iron out there before we can launch on those platforms. There's a lot of things around content review policies and things like that really do matter to those companies, but we've certainly proven that the possibility is there. It's not very hard to adapt. It actually runs almost the same code as our PC clients, which is something that is really easy for us to maintain because it's the same software, same code, same bugs, same fixes. It's all there, which gets us back to the eyeballs thing. When I was talking about the embed script, is we can actually take these links and we can really make them go viral easily. We can upload mini games that people build in these environments. They, for instance, say they make some sort of first-person shooter or some other game in our environment. They can upload those onto those gaming portals that everyone looks at lunch when they're supposed to be working in the office. All of those places can easily sort of accommodate a space virtual world. We did some tests about 2 years ago doing just that. We embedded back with the Unity web player before WebGL, so the Unity web player still required an installation, but a lot of those gamers did have it. We could reliably sort of generate 60, 70,000 viewers in a single month from one of those listings. It really was sort of adding up to quite substantial amounts of traffic. And when you can sort of take one of these, you can share it on Facebook. If you've got, for instance, a Facebook page with a million fans, you can go ahead and paste your URL and get all those fans to participate in your environments.
The room URL. It's funny because this is certainly bigger than a room where we're in right now.
Yeah. We started out with all sorts of terminology. I think it's region is the one we settled on in the end. But I mean, you can build anything in one of these. It doesn't actually. A lot of the sort of the limitations and things that you have in a virtual world don't necessarily apply here. If you want to build a region sort of in space that has no fixed ground, terrain, or perspective, you can go ahead and do that. So they're really more like universes than anything else.
So I have to cut it short, but we're running out of time. Tons of information. People can check it out. People have to, right now, people would have to apply for access, right? Your creator beta, is that correct?
Yes and no. The viewer is on sign.space, so SINE.space. That is the full domain name, so you just type that into a browser. You can check out a slightly older viewer. We don't have a lot of content on the live servers yet, but we've got our creators. We're actually approving content for release to live. It's all sort of churning through, and there is actually more content going up later today. This region we're talking about, we're looking at right now, Zone 54B, that is on the live servers. You can go ahead and check it out yourself. By all means, please do. Our creator program, if you visit sinewave.space, I know that's a little bit confusing. We are sorting that one out. But if you go to sinewave.space, you can apply for the creator program there. We're onboarding people fairly quickly. We've got about 160 people currently in the queue, but the queue moves very, very quickly.
So I was just going to ask if listeners, I mean, I know that you have approached some very talented people in SL. Should people contact you? Is there any chance that they get in a reasonable time, you think?
Yeah, so we actually get in contact with everyone usually within a couple of hours of you applying. And then we sort of try and schedule some little time to do a personal one-on-one. By all means, please get in touch. If you are a creator with a lot of experience, or if you're not, please do sort of hop in on that little the form that's on sinewave.space, because we will get in touch. We will talk to you about what you're doing and ways we can help you do that. A lot of what we're providing is not just sort of the tools and the facilities to build your content. We're also providing a lot of support. So we've got people like clothing creators who we've been talking to. We've been trying to work out ways to make the tools better for you that can support what you're doing. Over the last couple of weeks that we've been doing our current betas we've been really sort of making heavy changes to our tools based on feedback. The process is now fairly straightforward, I think. You yourself got your avatar up, which was really cool. I wasn't expecting that because I think someone only started talking to you a couple of hours ago.
No, I mean that is completely amazing. I mean this avatar was rigged and all, but Rowan also said earlier that the system basically you can get it from Mixamo, you can get it from other sources. If it's a humanoid avatar, the system automatically rigs it. I understand, right?
Yes, so we actually have a whole bunch of things. There's animation translation, which is what's happened to your one, so it obviously was already rigged. So we can actually sort of play our humanoid animations on any humanoid skeleton. You can upload all sorts of other things like My Spider. You can upload clothing items rigged to existing skeletons and have them joined together on demand. The avatar system is really probably one of the most flexible things that's been built into our platform. That's kind of hard to say because things like the region tools, you really can do whatever you like with them. But certainly sort of the avatar facilities and things are really quite powerful. And if you've got particular features that you need or want, or you're having a hard time or something, this is why we really like to be in contact, because we would like to come in and fix those things and make them all better and make things easy. It really should be a case that you can find pleasure in building content for our platforms, which is sort of our end goal, is really making it so that there's nothing in the way, nothing happens that you don't expect or don't understand, and the tools feel robust and work well.
I had a great time without wearing an HMD. Can you believe it? In 2016, the year of VR, I'm having an immersive experience without an HMD without two TVs tied to my face.
Now, if you want to do that, we do actually have a special client which does let you do it. So we haven't been completely ignoring the virtual reality side of things. We actually do have versions of our client that support it that you can download and run with. But personally, I probably prefer to spend, if I'm spending an hour in World, I'd rather do it outside of the headset than with it.
Right. Let's make this clear real quick. I mean, you can if you want, especially with Unity. I've been playing around with Unity, and there's actually a simple package. If you're designing in Unity, Vive has a package that you download, and then your stuff just plays back in the Vive. So it's really simple, and I'm assuming you guys are doing similar things. So this is not an exclusion of new technology. It's an ad. It's basically about choice, how you want to be immersed. Good stuff.
Our philosophy is we'd like to get the social and the content side right first. I think that's more important to us. And if we get that part right, then getting the technology part right is something it's important. It certainly is important to enable the other two. But if you can't get the social and the content right first, I think you're doing it wrong.
Let's just repeat the availability, estimated availability of this being completely live.
It will be
2020?
very soon. We've been oh no, far sooner than that. It'll be this year. We are basically, the only things we are holding back on at the moment is just how quickly and efficiently we can bring on creators. We're working on documentation for the last couple of months. We want to make sure that the documentation is good enough for a mass audience. So that's sort of why we've been holding things back a little bit on the release times. The tools we think are ready. It's just a matter of making sure that when you download those tools, you know what you're doing. So we've got about 4 hours of video tutorials so far. We've got a wiki and all sorts of things set up that hopefully give everything we need. And if we get good feedback from the creators that we're onboarding next week and the week after, then we could be very well looking at just a completely public go for your life environment very shortly thereafter.
Okay, so that was Adam Frisby from Sine Wave Entertainment with the virtual world space. Maybe something for 1920s Berlin. As you heard, Jo, you can be as big as you want.
As big as I want?
No, I mean the region, the world. Could be kilometer, could be 16 by 16 kilometers.
Oh right, yes. We'll have to wait and see.
Don't we always have to wait and see? But in the meantime, we're gonna be in Second Life while we're waiting and seeing.
Yeah, and actually doing stuff, So
this is the end of the show. Guys, listen to The Point. This is my advice for the weekend. Listen to The Point, which is my favorite public radio show from KCRW in LA. It's about the DDoS attack that brought down Twitter and Reddit and Spotify last Friday. Because this attack utilized the Internet of Things that a lot of people love so much. But the show explains how they used your baby monitor or your smart fridge to bring down these websites. It's really interesting.
My what?
This is too technical for you, Jo.
Oh, okay.
Just ignore it.
Nothing's too technical for me. It's just too modern.
And then folks, go to InSilico and make a lot of 360 pictures because there is
you can.
Right now, until November 15th, then InSilico will be gone. There is a experimental Second Life viewer out there right now. Inarape explains how it's used. You need to set up a server. Who the fuck sets up servers? But you can make 360 pictures in Second Life, and it's pretty awesome. So go to InSilico and immortalize that awesome place.
Yeah.
That's it for the show. Goodbye, Jo.
Auf Wiedersehen.
The Drax Files Radio Hour with Jo Yardley is a weekly production of Basic Drax Entertainment. The show is supported by Time Portal, SL Artist, Warbug, 01 Heavy Industries Corporation, Extraordinary Fine Magical Goods, Ionic, Maven Homes, Gizzo Creations, Strawberry Sing, Abra Animations, Eros Avatars, The Cube Republic, What Next, Landscapes Unlimited, Bay Cities You Know for Kids, Fallen Gods Incorporated, Feroce SL, and Death Row Designs. Contact the show via Skype, Drax Files Avatar, Drax Files, or email radio@draxfiles.com.